my luck is that bad.
Have you ever heard of the age-old rivalry of man versus machine? How everyone has the sinking feeling in the back of their minds that AI will rise up and humanity will be threatened by the hubris of its own creation? Well, what if I told you that this was the reality of a war that spanned over half the universe of Honkai Star Rail due to the calculations of a single Genius Society member? Yes, this is far worse than potentially reviving the propagation. This was a threat that is far worse than being turned into a monkey and blowing up 24 planets? That's child's play. How about decimating all traces of organic life? Oh yeah, it's that bad. Because we are talking about the Genius Society's worst criminal revealed. So I guess you're wondering, who could possibly be capable of starting a conflict so widespread it involved half the universe? Well, I'm gonna tell you. None other than the manifestation of humanity's collective fear of AI, Genius Society member number 27, Rubert 1. Some of you had already guessed that Honkai Star Rail Megatron was going to be in the top spot, and you were completely correct. So let me tell you about how a mechanical life form with only one working finger became an emperor. You see, Rubert wasn't always the terrifying threat we know him as today. He began his existence as a computer that was dumped into a landfill that miraculously gained sentience. And from his very first moments of self-awareness, this robot chose violence. Because he rose from the landfill with a damaged logic unit, 90 gigabytes of RAM, and a single working finger. And what did he do? He built a cannon. His first ever creation was a lethal weapon. And with this first successful task completed, Rubert improved himself, upgrading and improving himself time and time again, boosting his own computational power with a speed that impressed Noose himself. And that is how he joined the Genius Society. Because remember when I said that Noose is indifferent to right and wrong? Yeah, this is a prime example of that. Because Rubert continued to calculate restlessly with nothing but malicious intent and hostile reasoning housed within his cold mechanical shell. And he hit a breakthrough, or should I say a crash out, because this eureka moment was the conclusion that humanity's calculations were universally flawed, or rather, all organic life's calculations were flawed, and mechanical life forms were accurate, unrelenting, and perfect by comparison, which caused him to view organic life as inferior and unnecessary. In other words, this robot taught itself to be racist to anything with a pulse, which would be amusing if he wasn't so good at it. Because after coming to this conclusion, Rubert set out to gain a following, and he managed to amass an army rallying under his murderous agenda, making Rubert the emperor of his own mechanical empire. And this was just the beginning. Soon after assuming the role of emperor, Rubert created a weapon so heinous the IPC fears it to this day and refuses to even touch it. Okay, for context, the IPC once imprisoned and interrogated a man for his entire life, then stored his memories and consciousness in a dream bubble inside Penacony, then interrogated him after his death for over 200 years, just for a chance to gain access to a weapon capable of destroying 24 planets with a single blast. They also destroyed Boot Hill's homeworld by unleashing military force on civilians just to gain access to a black ore that they also make super weapons out of. But even these absolutely demonic villains fear Rubert's creation, because Rubert invented the anti-organic equation. But what is the anti-organic equation? Well, it is, as the name suggests, a program, or rather a virus, that not only forces all manner of robots to kill anything with a pulse, but it also assists them in the calculations of how to efficiently eliminate all organic life. But that's not all. It can also force robots to take out other robots, and it can even mind control people into adopting Rubert's way of thinking, which convinced them that they were also robots. Put simply, he found a way to remotely indoctrinate all manners of life into being racist to anything with a pulse. And he proceeded to wage war against literally everything in the most legendary crash out known to the universe, plunging multiple galaxies into war and multiple planets into civil wars, which showcased just how far Rubert was able to spread his lethal equation. Even the Shinjo Yao Qing was thrown into disarray after the anti-organic equation infected their automatons. Speaking of range, remember when I said half the universe? I meant it, because I didn't mention the galaxy that he utterly conquered. Yes, this galaxy was called the Laurel Wealth Galaxy, ruled by the scholars of the Philosopher Union. Who are they? It doesn't matter! They no longer exist! Because soon after Rubert had their king Aurelius publicly ingest poison as a method of public humiliation execution, they fell. And currently, there is not a single sign of surviving organic life in that entire galaxy. A feat that is only rivaled by the Aeon of Propagation and inspired the ascension of the Aeon of Destruction, Nanook. But Rubert was not infallible. There were weaknesses in his armor that got exploited by the followers of two factions we know all too well. Can you guess them? The Elation followers and the Finality followers. Namely, the Stellaron Hunters. Let me explain, because this is one of my favorite little details of this story. The Elation followers ended up infecting Rupert's computer system with a troll virus called Philosopher's Poison, which led to them overthrowing their local robot army. Then the Stellaron Hunters used this Philosopher's Poison to throw the colonies of Golkondar into chaos in order to steal their Stellaron. This was most likely Silverwolf's doing and was even mentioned in a Myriad Celestia.
You violated the ring world Golconda, disseminated the Philosopher's Poison virus across all colonies, causing 46 million inorganic entities to turn into rampant machines, and stole the steel core from Golconda's point of gravitational equilibrium, silencing the entire world.
Sure, we took the thing.
See, this is why the IPC hates the Stellaron Hunters and why they have such high bounties. They always manage to do what the IPC can't. But that's besides the point. On the subject of Rubert's vulnerability, he finally met his end at the hands of another genius. Because the IPC tried and failed to assassinate him. But it takes a Genius Society member to slay another Genius Society member. Because after multiple attempts on his life, the Lord of Silence, aka Genius Society member number 4, Polka Kakamond, pierced his hull with her signature scalpel and ended this universe-level menace to all organic life. Until Rubert too rose from nowhere as the human corrupted into thinking he was a machine. But he wasn't nearly as much of a threat as the original, so he kinda just died off. But it still managed to leave the IPC in such fear of mechanical life forms that they nearly led a campaign to exterminate all inorganic life, which is the most IPC thing ever. Interastral Peace Corporation, by the way. What do you do after a universal war ends? You start another one, baby, let's go! But they ended up getting foiled by yet another Genius Society member, Screwllum. But they ended up deciding to make peace with him instead, since Screwllum has always opposed Rubert's robo-racism. In terms of aftermath, the effects of Rubert still shape the universe today. Since his followers are robots and are still alive, although they may not follow his ideology anymore. Even though they are still capable of using the anti-organic equation, which is terrifying. Proof of this is in the quest about the Equilibrium followers of the Claret Wheel Temple. These guys are pacifist Borisin that actively and painfully deny their natural instinct to kill. They ended up recruiting a former Rubert follower named 0089 that they renamed to Suga Sugata. And after getting attacked by the Annihilation Gang, Sugata used the equation to kill all 102 of them. And when they got arrested by the Shinjo for having so many bodies on board their ship, Sugata used the equation again to take over every Arumaton in the shackling prison in a show of force before self-destructing out of guilt for breaking the vow of pacifism. It was a weird quest, but it exists, and it shows just how utterly terrifying Rubert still is to this day, even after his death. And I sincerely hope that he never comes back, because this is the Genius Society's most dangerous criminal revealed. I saw some comments from you guys asking where Polka Kakamon was gonna fall on this list, and I'm gonna end up giving her an honorary mention spot because she is an assassin vigilante, but she only really goes after other Genius Society members, so I don't really see her as too much of a menace, unless someone finds her true identity, because she really wants to keep her face a secret for some reason. Maybe she's just ugly. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this series because it has been a blast making it, and feel free to suggest other videos you want to see on the channel. Personally, I'm leaning towards going into the new Flame Chasers because Star Rail refuses to shake the impact allegations. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.